All right, we're going to do a little bit of variation here, or quite a bit of a variation. I don't know, you can look at it two ways. All right, now this is a big and juicy pad. It used to be made by Ranger. These have long since been discontinued. I have no idea what the condition of this is. This is probably 15 years old, maybe more. I don't know. Could be 18 years old for all I know, 20. But if you've done or heard of brayering, okay, you can utilize this technique with any kind of brayering type of process. This is a dye-based ink pad. Let me get a scissor here. And you can do this brayering process with whatever types of inks you want. Sometimes people take a different color ink pad and go like this, and they'll brayer. Then they'll use a different one, and they'll brayer that on, and they're overlapping their kind of their different color transitions, I believe. But I don't know. Take a look online. Take a look here on YouTube as far as brayered cards or whatnot and techniques. I haven't even taken a look and seen what some of the latest things are. I used to get different types of rainbow pads, and the big and juicy ones were really convenient for that because they're really wide. But we used to do it with smaller pads as well. Way back in the day, keep saying that type of thing, but it's nevertheless true. We used to do all kinds of things that I don't know. They just I don't know. I don't know if rainbow pads are still out there or not. Okay, now there were rainbow pigment ink pads too, and whatnot, and you can brayer that too. But then the things that you stamp over the top of pigment inks, it's going to be different than dye-based inks. Okay. Now with dye-based inks, we can do things in a couple different ways. Let's see if I still have some stamped sketches that I stamped out here, or did I color every single one of them? Okay, so what I'm getting at here is you can lay down some of the colors first. Oh, here's one of my stamp sketches right here. You can lay down some of the colors first and then just stamp right over the top of it. But with dye-based inks, we should be able to take a stamped scene and brayer right over the top of that scene too. Dye-based inks are transparent, so the darker objects or whatever colors that are been applied are going to stand out. Okay, so we're not going to put pink over black and then not be able to see the black anymore because the pink's over it. Okay, transparent. Okay, so that being said, here's my thing. This is a really old pad, and I have stored it flat, but I have no idea if all these different colors here have just bled into one another and are, just one uniform color. It looks like there is, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but it looks like that is a little bit pink, and that's green over there still, so I have a feeling that we have a little bit of a transition right there. Okay, this brayer is a little bit small for this. I'm going to go across it this way, okay? But let's just take a look. Now this brayer here is a little bit old too. I have other ones, but there's a lot of texture to it, so it's not an ideal rubber brayer. I should go get a new one, or a newer one. I have no idea what I used on this, but I think the rubber has dried up. This too is, a really old brayer. Okay, so let's see if we have something here. If it is, then we're pretty good. It looks a little bit kind of, I don't know. My brayer, it's super textured, okay, and I have a feeling that's going to translate, or transfer over to the paper there. But let's see if I can get this coated up pretty good, and let's see what I can do here. I haven't done a brayered card in, I don't know, I think I did one. I think I have a lesson or two, maybe using it. I don't remember. But it's been quite a few years, so. Okay. Now I'm just going over this. You don't normally have to go over that, but I can just see on this brayer, see where it's still not inked up? It's because this rubber is so dried up and hard. It almost it gave it a kind of a rough texture to it, okay? All right, now this is going to, things look different on, kind of your matte, style of papers and glossy. I've typically done it on glossy before, but let's take a look here. All right, now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about right here, and then I'll kind of work it down this way, and I'll work it up that way, because this is not going to cover, you know, the entire card, okay? All right, so let's give it a shot here. See how textured that is right there? So what you do is you just kind of keep blending that together there. This is a super dark color right here, okay? All right, I need more ink. You just kind of go like this, get it on different areas right here. Okay, I need to work that up there. Needless to say, we're creating a nighttime type of scene. I would go much lighter. Boy, that is like the darkest version of violet now, right? I think you can get kind of the point of this, though. See, it would have been nice to have that really light transition up there. So, you know, these have bled into one another. It's pretty cool, though, isn't it? We got a little bit of that green down here. Okay, so I'm just going across now. I'm getting a couple of these little columns here. It's probably because where I'm dropping this down, maybe. I don't know. So kind of hit this in different areas like this, you know, to get, you know, the rotation a little bit different. And see, I'm getting rid of those two kind of verticals right there. All right, there's a lot of ink laid down here. But, okay, so we have something like this. See that right there? I don't know if you can see the difference here. It looks like one color to me when I'm looking at my video screen. But hopefully you can see this kind of this more violet tone up here, and then the blue down below. I'm hoping that's coming through, but that's kind of a little rainbow. Here's a little bit of a column right there. Let me see if I can kind of get that out of there. So you kind of just keep, you know, staying with that same direction, okay? You don't take this and suddenly start going this way now, you know, because we have those transitions going from, you know, top to bottom like that, or left to right, or whatever you call it, okay? All right, so, yeah, let's see right here. I think it looks pretty good, you know, believe it or not. I mean, that's not, you know, the gradations I would want. I would want much more of what they call it, like a split rainbow or split fountain, you know, where we're coming across and we're going through various different color schemes and whatnot in there. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. All right, so anyways, that's your brayer type of thing. Now, I don't know, you know, I'm not going to take the time to do some other types of variations of that. Oh, like in terms of different colors. But let me do this one variation on this. Let's do the background first, okay? And then let's stamp over the top of it. So, like I said, dye-based inks, you can do that. Okay, so that one was your matte or satin paper, but look how glossy that is. That's not going to dry that way. That's really super shiny. See, this is, you know, the card right here, but that's just to come to show you what, you know, all those inks layered up like that can do. When you're doing these brayered backgrounds like this too, it's kind of like, you know, it's a little bit of the sensibility of kind of the photo stamping type of thing in terms of the background has already been set and established. You're not going to make that into like a sunset scene with, you know, yellows and whatnot at this point in time. Oh, too. And if we're doing something with like this cloud with moon, okay, and if I want that moon to remain nice and white and light in the sky, then we're going to have to do one of two things. We can either stamp this out first and then take a little mask and put it over that, so that when we brayer over that, we can remove the mask and it'll reveal the white. Or just, you know, I mean, you can stamp this in later on and just take a white paint pen and just recolor out that white area. It's not really reclaiming the white area, but it's just kind of establishing the white area again with a white paint pen. So a couple different ways, you know, considerations that you have to think about in terms of kind of establishing, you know, a set color scheme. Okay, all right. This is really fun, though. I am kind of curious about the use of some other types of colors or whatnot. I have a piece of dust right there, or something on my paper. Okay, I'm going a little bit further down here. I noticed there is some kind of green down this way, so a lot of people panic. They get this and they think, "Oh my gosh, it's not blending in. What do I do?" You know what I mean? But you just have to keep going over it. Okay. So you have to fill it in like this. Okay, now see I'm just kind of migrating this back and forth. You know, there is going to be a little bit of overlap in the middle, but, you know, I mean, that's what these kind of, you know, these concepts are all about, you know, in terms of the blending of things. You know, things don't always look the way you want them in the final result after, you know, 5 seconds or something like that. You just stay with it and just keep blending it like that. See how that's coming around? I have a little bit of that harsh line up there, so I need more ink on that. We'll hit that like this. Kind of change your rotation a little bit. I think there's so much ink on here too. I think what I'm noticing here is if I change my pressure a little bit, you know, it applies a little bit differently. Pretty fun stuff, though. But if you do this, I don't know, I would go with some, you know, a much wider range of values, you know what I mean, to make things a little bit more extreme. But I don't know, this one's not too bad, I think. Okay, let me see right here. Let me go this. I just went like this and rolled it that way. Let me do that, and I'll get it from over here, okay? Getting rid of that harsh line right there. Yeah, it's kind of slowly disappearing for me a little bit. Okay, that looks a little bit better, using, you know, the utilization of a little bit more of this green. Big and juicy pad for you. We used to sell those at the conventions. Well, I think we used to do a big and juicy stamp board piece. And then what we would do is we would do this brayering on the stamp board, stamp a scene out, and then scratch back into it. Stamp board's kind of like a scratch board, except it's really perfect for stamping because it's on a hardboard panel instead of like a Bristol board or something like that. There's videos on that. I'm not going to go into that, but okay. So, all right. Now this is really super juicy. I'm wondering if I should stamp into that with a dye-based black ink, or should I go with like that Versafine Clair or something like that? I don't have like a StazOn pad. I do need to get a black Staze, and I've kind of typically stayed away from solvent inks, just because I don't like the idea of solvent inks on rubber over the course of like 20 years. I mean, you know, I could change out and whatnot, but I don't clean my stamps off very often. So I let them set, you know, and with solvent inks, it's a good idea to kind of wash them off. Clean them off with their, you know, their solvent ink cleaner, and then I would hit it again with like a, you know, a mild thing, like a simple green or something of that sort. But all right, I am going to try the Versafine Clair on here. I need to experiment with this ink a little bit more because I just got it recently. All right. Boy, that is such a juicy pad there. Pigment ink pads when brand new, huh? I think when this eventually gets dry and I re-ink it, what I do is I don't ink it up to that level of, I don't know, whatever, juiciness or whatnot. I ink it up to about medium. Okay, let's just centralize this one right here. Okay. Like, I'm hoping the Versafine Clair doesn't run, because that ink is just so sopping wet. It's pretty good, though, huh, in terms of, one of the things, the lessons that I used to do on the website, which are still up there, but one of the lessons I did was called quick scenes, or quickscapes, I think, quickscapes. And, let's see, I mean, you can just do this as a one-off, but if someone had to do, like, several different scenes, like for Christmas cards or something like that, the brayer is not a bad way to go, just getting those instant colors down. I mean, that would take a lot less time than doing something like this, where you're blending in like one color over another. This is very fast and I think very effective, but it's less there's less variables, okay? You can't control really lighting very well. I mean, there's probably other things you can do. You can do things with masking and whatnot, but you know what I mean? I can't leave an area that's light over here and light over here and have things a little bit more streaky up top. Oh, that being said, too, when you add things like this, too, I don't know if, well, here, let me just show you if I'm going to talk about it. Okay, you don't have to just brayer only and then stamp, okay? These are just dye-based inks, so let me take a dye-based ink here. Let me go with a little bit of a darker one, because that surface is already fairly dark. Let's go with the Prussian blue here that you saw me use in my previous videos. Or video, was that the last one I did? But we can take something like this, and if we want to add some variation in here, ooh, that is really too dark. Let me go lighter here. I don't know, I thought that was a lot darker than it is. Let's go with the number 10 here, which would be the equivalent of like a Bahama. Here, let me use the Bahama blue because you saw me use that one here. All right. All right, here's the Bahama blue. All right. I have no idea how wet this is. If I touch this, I don't know if I'm going to kind of get, a little bit of a bleed. Actually, that's set up pretty well. Okay, actually, that is kind of dry. Let's go with the Danube blue. I thought I was going to be able to blend that out right there, that Prussian blue, because I thought it was still wet. Now, these click. Okay. Let's go back to this. All right, I let this set up here. I was just on the phone here for a couple minutes. But let's see here. All right. I gave that... Oops, I just touched my impression there. Okay, I need to be careful about that. Okay, let's add in some more. This is what I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that that big and juicy pad... I mean, this is dry right here. I added... a ton of ink down there. Okay, so I'm re-moistening this, so this is what I was talking about with the other lessons. If things got a little bit too dry, what you do is you just add in some additional tone like this, okay, and blend it in. So what we're doing is we're, kind of lubricating the page right here to make these darker tones easier to blend in. I wonder if the big and juicy pad has some kind of quicker drying type of surface on there. It is really setting up fast. Unless I'm doing this on, it's not photopaper. Sometimes photopaper really grabs the ink really fast and it dries real fast. Okay, so I've got that laid down there. All right. Okay, let's go in with a little bit of a lighter blue than this Prussian blue. Prussian blue is so dark, okay? Okay, so see this right here? I can get in my little extra kind of texturing and streakiness. I got to be careful about the Clair. Don't go over that, because that's still really juicy, Pigment inks are oil-based, so they're going to dry faster than water-based inks, okay? So water-based inks dry, I don't know how many different types of inks are there. There's pigment inks are probably dry the slowest, that's why you can emboss with them. Then there's hybrid inks that are a combination of dyes and pigment. Then you get pigment inks, and then you get solvent inks. Solvent inks really dry really fast. Okay, so there we have that. I have, that's a little bit streaky over there, but that's fine. Because we're going to be stamping in some foreground anyways. I don't know if you can even see it here. There's slight variation right there. Now, if I didn't have to, if I laid those streaks in there before I stamped that image, I can get in there a little bit easier to do these streaks, but I want to be really careful about not blending that out. So that being said, if you do the brayering, you can come in there with those extra textures ahead of time before your imagery. Or, if I stamp that out in black dye-based ink, it might be dry by now, okay? Or I could just, streak over the top of them without having to worry about them blurring. It's too early to tell, but as far as I can see, I don't see that ink bleeding out, okay? So far, so good. But it's not going to bleed out because this ink is still wet to the touch. Yeah. It would be because it just, I don't know, the combination of this media on here. Okay, so anyways, pretty good there, pre-stamped with just dye-based ink. It's starting to dull out now as it dries, okay? Now see, that's what confused me. This was so shiny when I stamped it out. Look at that. That black looks like it's wet. But that was pre-stamped, okay? It just, I don't know, it looks like that just because it's setting up right here. And here's your glossy, okay? So, see that kind of duller look right there? But if we want this one to look glossy like this, then we just spray seal this with a glossy coat, okay? But, yeah, looks pretty good in there. And I'm not going to stamp the moon in there. I think it would be too harsh if I put like a white moon in there, okay? Anyway, so I don't want to do something like that. Alright. Let's just go with a focal point. I don't know. I mean, this scene, I have other stamps, but if I'm just sticking with Nature's Set number 9, having some sort of kind of focal point in here is good. Now, on something like this too, if you watch my previous video, I could have stamped out that background there, maybe with a Danube blue, or I don't know if that would be dark enough. But if you stamp it out in a color, it would look like it's farther back in the distance, right? Just like doing it here. See what I mean? I don't know if that Danube blue would be dark enough right there. So, but you can push depth using the brayering method. Everything's kind of interchangeable in terms of the concepts. You just kind of tinker around with different media, right? All right, now I'm going to do a lot of fun kind of After Effects or, kind of additions to these scenes later on. I'm going to do it all in one video. I'm going to use like the, like a white, where's my white pen? My white paint pen works on here. Maybe we'll add in some crystals or something like that. Wouldn't that be kind of cool to have like one crystal star up there or something like that in this scene, okay? But we'll add all these types of things to really kind of push kind of the visual richness of these scenes with some additional textures in them. But yeah, something like this would look fantastic with like a little crystal, like a North Star up there or something like that. Or, I mean, this is flat enough up here too. There's not so much variation where like a quote stamp would look really good up there, and we have plenty of space up there for that. Sometimes when you get a little bit more of a busier background like this, a quote would stand out against this if I did it in a dark tone, okay? But, if you have something like this moon here, I don't know if I'd stamp a quote across that moon. I mean, you certainly could, but, having something kind of a little bit flatter like this, you wouldn't put a quote right across those, birds or something like that, but in something like that, that would be ideal. And going back to what I was saying about kind of quick scenes, I mean, this is a really quick scene right here, but you have that gradation right there, so you have this richness going on in the background. It would be even better if I had more variation in here from, a pad that wasn't 20 years old and has bled into one another, but I don't know, just a very effective type of look here. You know what I mean? And as far as like that um, super smooth transitioning of colors, you know, a brayer, that's kind of one of the things that's kind of designed for, and that's really ideal for it. And if I didn't mention it, this is the rubber brayer. I mentioned mine is super old and it's getting super hard and it's textured, but it still gives you, if you just kind of keep going across it, right? It gives you a real smooth transition. You don't see any textures at all. And this surface right here is horribly textured. You can even see it, as this is sitting here, how hard and kind of rippled and textured that surface is right there. But brayers and brayers, and I don't know, they work great for a quick scene. So people that are doing things like Christmas cards or something like that, if you have 50 to do, you're not going to want to do something like this, okay? Too much, even if you're doing it on a kind of an assembly line kind of style and using rinkers for a quick inking up, the brayers are a good way to go. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever, do some, you can do some splatter painting in there with some Dr. Martin's bleed proof white for snow or whatever, and it would look really great. Okay, so anyways, there's brayering right there as a possible variation in terms of your color additions and whatnot for your set, and it's really fun to do. Don't look for big and juicy pads, or you can. I don't think they're around, but I don't know. Look at some different brayering types of processes. I think people just take individual colors and do it that way, and just kind of mix them like accordingly. But very effective use, and a lot of you probably have brayers in your art supplies already. So I don't know, really fun stuff to do.